Hi there, looking at practical workshop today on building services. Specifically, we're looking at heating design. This is a super quick overview. I'm not looking at the heat sources in terms of, I'm not going to look at the different types of boilers. I'm not going to look at ground source heat pumps, air source heat pumps, solar panels, etc. I'm specifically going to look at these elements being heating distribution. I'm going to be looking at radiators. So radiators in red on this drawing, I have got, if I calculate my heat losses at 1.1 kilowatts or thereabouts, I can quite easily size my radiators. 500 by 300 radiator gives out 0.63. So if I times that by 2, that's 1.2 kilowatts. So I can have 2 radiators in this space quite easily to cover my heat loss. Heat loss calculations on a different slide. Please look if you're not sure what that means. Okay, so I could look at radiators. I can look at forced air ducts. Now this is where air is distributed through ducting. So under the floor you can have little grills, or if you've got a HVA system from above, then you'll have ventilators from above. So forcing hot air through duct work, basically, that's your forced air ducts. And then your baseboards are essentially skirting boards with pipes in them. That's what I see them as. Little, yeah, so the same idea as a radiator, but it's through very low level and it's generally 1 or 2 pipes, so it covers a larger area. So I've got them in blue here. Yep, so there's a spec there. You've got a 1 kilowatt one, so you can look at the manufacturer details to find out how much they emit for your room. Okay, and then last but not least, underfloor heating, my favourite, where you've just got loops of pipes underneath the floor, so distributed evenly across the whole floor area. So the heat is just rising nicely across the whole surface and up. Okay, so I've just put a little note here. Heat should be in the coldest part of the space and low down for conduction. So if you imagine, old school radiators used to be by the windows. Now the reason they're by the windows, cold air coming in, hot air rising, cold air dropping. This air will mix and then it will give you a nice ambient temperature, which then gets pushed into the wall through this convection process. So the pressure of those two airs meeting will force a nice temperature into your room, rather than having really cold by the windows, really hot by the fire, that sort of concept. So the idea of having radiators by the cold walls or cold windows, that's where that came from. Okay, so moving on to controls. You can have controls at your heat source. So I've got my boiler in here. There's my boiler. You can turn that on or off. I've got all my appliances there. You could actually have localized switching there. So you can turn your local appliance on and off. So my radiator, I can turn that on and off, this on and off, okay, using valves. And then I can also look at zoning. So I could have some sort of switch here and here, zone 1 and zone 2, which tells me, oh, I want this to be heated, or I want this zone to be heated. Even though this is a big open space, as you'll see there, you can still look at zoning spaces. So although some heat might escape from the living room through to the dining room, at least you've got that living room at the temperature you want it to be, or on when you want it to be on, and the dining room's off when you're not using it, etc. Okay, so looking at the control types, we've got timers, so you can just turn them on and off depending on what time of day it is, if you're away, if you're not away. Thermostat regulates the actual temperature itself. So what temperature, as soon as the temperature drops, on goes the heating, etc. Okay. Building management is the sort of concept where, everybody's trying to get into this now. It's the best way to do it because you can regulate it from home if you're going to be in late, or if you're away for the day, you can just turn on and off your heating depending on what you're doing. Most big corporations, what they'll do is they'll set their temperatures at 16 degrees always. So the rooms are always sitting at 16 degrees. And then when someone goes in, the heating will either ramp up or ramp down depending on what activity they're doing. Okay, so there's a very quick overview on heating design. Hope that helped. Take care. Thanks for your time.